Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, Anything, and realizing that it could be worth a staggering amount of money. It sounds unbelievable, but in the world of coin collecting, even the most ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary stories. Today, we're diving deep into one of those hidden treasures, the 1979 United States Lincoln 1-cent penny with a mint mark. It's a coin most people would glance at for half a second before tossing into their change jar, but for collectors, the right version of this penny could be a golden ticket. To truly understand its significance, let's rewind to the year 1979. It was a time of change in America. Jimmy Carter was president, inflation was on people's minds, and the price of gold and silver was soaring. While most Americans were focused on bigger denominations like dollars and quarters, the U.S. Mint was steadily producing billions of pennies, keeping Abraham Lincoln's portrait alive on the smallest unit of American currency. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 7 decades by this point, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1979, it had become one of the most recognizable coins in the world. The design remained iconic. On the obverse side, there's Lincoln's profile, sharp and noble, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, had famously appeared on the very first 1909 issue. The year 1979 appears just in front of Lincoln's chest, and just beneath it, you'll find the mint mark. That tiny letter tells you where the coin was made: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and P for Philadelphia, though Philadelphia pennies from that era didn't display a mint mark at all. On the reverse, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial in careful detail, designed by Frank Gasparo, with such precision that if you look closely, you can even see a tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln inside. Above the memorial is United States of America, below it, 1 cent, and between them the proud national motto, E pluribus unum. But what turns an everyday 1979 penny into something far more valuable is not just the design, it's the details hidden in its condition, its rarity, and in some cases, its minting quirks. Most 1979 pennies have been through decades of pockets, purses, coin rolls, and vending machines. They've been scratched, worn smooth, and darkened by years of circulation. A coin like that is still worth exactly 1 cent. But in the rare cases where a penny has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, its luster intact, its edges sharp, its details crisp, its value skyrockets, then there are the minting errors, and this is where things get truly interesting. A slight doubling in the lettering or date, a misaligned die, or a striking error where the design isn't perfectly centered, these imperfections can make a coin unique. Collectors cherish them, because no two error coins are exactly alike. A 1979 penny with a clear, dramatic error, combined with exceptional condition, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of times its face value. And when that coin comes from a proof set, especially one struck at the San Francisco Mint with its S mint mark, the level of craftsmanship and rarity can push its worth into unbelievable territory. Imagine discovering one of these in your possession. You pick up what you think is an ordinary penny, but as you tilt it under the light, you notice the color is richer, the details sharper. You check the mint mark and realize it's an S, indicating a proof strike. You pull out a magnifying glass and find no scratches, no dulling of the shine. And then, just maybe, you notice something unusual in the lettering or the date, something only an experienced collector would recognize as rare. At that moment, you wouldn't just be holding a coin, you'd be holding history, rarity, and value all in one small copper disc. The beauty of collecting coins like the 1979 Lincoln penny is that the treasure hunt is accessible to everyone. You don't need to be wealthy to start looking. These coins are out there, tucked away in forgotten coin jars, sitting in old desk drawers, hidden inside inherited collections. Every coin you examine could be the one that changes everything. And while many 1979 pennies are worth no more than their face value, a select few have sold for staggering amounts at auction, shocking even experienced collectors. Today, we're talking about one of those special finds, the 1976 United States 1-cent Lincoln penny with a mint mark, a coin that, under the right conditions, can transform from pocket change into a collector's dream. The year 1976 was a big one in American history. It marked the nation's bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. While quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins were given special bicentennial designs to celebrate the occasion, the penny stayed the same in appearance, quietly continuing its traditional look. This makes the 1976 penny somewhat overlooked in the world of commemorative coinage, but for serious collectors, it's exactly this understated continuity that makes it fascinating. It's a coin from a milestone year in U.S. history, yet it carries a design that links directly to a long tradition of American coinage. On the obverse, you'll see the timeless profile of President Abraham Lincoln, facing right, designed by Victor David Brenner and introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1976, this portrait had been in circulation for 67 years, yet the details still carried a certain gravitas: Lincoln's strong features, the clean lines of his coat, the precise curls in his hair. Beneath the date, depending on the coin, you might see a tiny D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all, indicating it was struck in Philadelphia. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, a design so precise that a magnifying glass reveals the tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the monument's central columns. So what separates an ordinary 1976 penny from one that's worth a small fortune? As with all collectible coins, the answer lies in condition, rarity, and errors. The vast majority of 1976 pennies have spent decades in circulation, passing through countless hands, cash registers, and coin rolls. Over the years, they've become worn, scratched, and discolored, their once shiny surfaces dulled by time. But a coin that has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, its original luster intact, every design element sharp, stands out immediately to collectors. Then there are the rare minting errors that can make a 1976 penny especially desirable. Misstrikes, double dies, and off-center strikes are among the most sought after. A doubled image in the date or lettering, for example, is an unmistakable sign of a minting anomaly that occurred during production. Even minor errors can add value, but when combined with an uncirculated or proof-quality coin, the value can rise dramatically. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, bearing the S mint mark, are especially coveted for their mirror-like finish and fine detail, often minted in much smaller quantities than their circulation counterparts. Imagine pulling one of these from a forgotten coin jar or inherited collection, perfectly preserved, its details sharp, its copper surface gleaming under the light. Maybe you notice a doubled 6 in the date, or the Lincoln Memorial slightly misaligned. You realize this is no ordinary penny. You're holding a small piece of history from a milestone year, a coin that not only survived decades without losing its quality but also possesses unique traits that make it unlike any other. This is why coin collectors are passionate about their search, because treasures like this are still out there. The thrill of finding an extraordinary coin in an ordinary place never gets old, and stories of rare pennies turning up in pocket change are more common than you might think. The key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to examine every coin that passes through your hands. Today, we're traveling back more than 5 decades to explore a humble coin that millions of people passed through their hands without giving it a second thought: the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1971. At first glance, it's just a penny, something you might find lying in a parking lot or at the bottom of your change jar. But here's the twist: certain versions of this coin are so rare and so valuable that they could make your heart skip a beat. The secret lies in the details so small, many people have walked right past a fortune without realizing it. The Lincoln penny has been a symbol of American currency for over a century. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, it replaced the Indian head cent and became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. By 1971, the Lincoln penny had already gone through multiple changes, but it still carried the same iconic image of Lincoln's profile on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. The year 1971 was an interesting one in U.S. coin history. The mint was producing billions of pennies to keep up with demand, striking them in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark, a small letter on the coin's obverse just below the date, tells us where it was made: no mint mark for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and an S for San Francisco. But while most of these coins are worth only their face value, a select few have extraordinary features that catapult them into the world of high-value collectibles. So, what makes a 1971 Lincoln penny so special? The answer is a combination of rarity, condition, and, in some cases, minting errors. You see, when coins are produced, the minting process is precise, but it's not perfect. Sometimes the dies used to strike the coins develop flaws. In 1971, one of the most famous of these flaws was the double die obverse, a striking error that causes the date, lettering, or other design elements to appear doubled. This doubling is visible to the naked eye and is one of the most sought-after errors by collectors. Imagine holding a 1971 penny in your hand and noticing that the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear slightly doubled. That's not just a cool quirk, it's a potential jackpot. Collectors will pay a premium for such coins, especially if they are in pristine, uncirculated condition. Condition is another key factor. Coins that have never been used in daily transactions, known as mint state coins, retain their original shine and detail. Every scratch, dent, or discoloration from circulation reduces value. That's why some of the most valuable 1971 pennies are those that were tucked away right after being minted, kept safe in coin rolls, and never handled. And let's not forget the mint mark pennies from San Francisco. Many of these were made as proofs, special coins struck for collectors with sharper details and a mirror-like finish. Proof coins are already rarer than regular circulation coins, and certain proof varieties from 1971 are extremely valuable due to low mintage numbers and high demand. Over the years, stories have surfaced of people finding these rare 1971 pennies in the most unexpected places, inside old jars, in inherited coin collections, or even as part of loose change from a vending machine. It's this element of surprise that makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when you might stumble upon a hidden gem. Now, when you're checking your own coins, here are a few things to look for in a 1971 Lincoln penny: a clear, strong double die on the obverse, especially on the date and lettering. A deep, sharp strike with no signs of wear, indicating mint state condition. Unusual coloring or metal composition errors, proof versions with an S mint mark and flawless surfaces. If you find one with these characteristics, you might just be looking at a coin that could change your life. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1971 pennies are worth just a cent, a rare, high-grade example with the right features can fetch an astounding $52,000. Yes, you heard that right, $52,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe, but it's true. That's why the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, you might want to pick it up. You could be holding a small piece of history worth a small fortune. So, grab your magnifying glass, dig through your change jar, and start hunting. Who knows? Your next great treasure might be hiding in plain sight. Today, we're focusing on a penny that looks ordinary to most people, but to the trained eye, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime find. The United States of America 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1982. At first glance, you might wonder, what's so special about a penny from the 80s? After all, billions were made, and many are still floating around in pockets, piggy banks, and desk drawers. But the truth is, 1982 was no ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. It was a year of change, a year when the U.S. Mint made one of the most significant composition switches in modern coinage history. And because of this transition, rare and valuable varieties were created, some of which are worth staggering amounts today. Let's go back to the early 80s. For decades, since 1909, the Lincoln cent had been made mostly of copper, 95% copper to be exact. But copper prices began to rise dramatically, and by the early 1980s, the cost of making a penny was starting to exceed the coin's own face value. The U.S. Mint had to make a decision, and in 1982, they did, switching the composition from copper to a cheaper copper-plated zinc. Here's where it gets interesting. Because the change happened during the year, 1982 pennies exist in both copper and zinc versions. And it doesn't stop there. 1982 also produced multiple design varieties, large date and small date, from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. In total, there are 7 major types of 1982 pennies. For collectors, that's like a treasure map with multiple X marks to find. Now, the mint marks tell you where the coin was made. A D means Denver, an S means San Francisco, and no mint mark means Philadelphia. Most regular 1982 pennies are only worth a cent or two, but rare varieties, especially those in pristine, uncirculated condition or with minting errors, can fetch serious money. One of the most famous and valuable varieties is the 1982 D small date made of copper. It's an unusual combination because most Denver small date cents that year were struck in zinc. Only a few were accidentally made in the old copper composition, and those few are the stuff of legends among collectors. The difference in weight is the giveaway. Copper cents weigh 3.11 grams, while zinc cents weigh just 2.5 grams. A good scale can help you spot this rarity, but composition isn't the only thing to watch for. Minting errors are another goldmine for collectors. Off-center strikes, double dies, and other unusual mistakes can send a coin's value skyrocketing. Imagine finding a 1982 penny with a perfectly visible doubling on the date or lettering. That's the kind of error that makes serious collectors open their wallets wide. Condition plays a huge role too. Coins that have been in circulation for years show scratches, wear, and discoloration. But coins kept in mint state, untouched by human hands since the day they were struck, retain their sharp details and luster. These are the coins that auction houses love, and that command the biggest prices. Over the years, people have found valuable 1982 pennies in the most surprising ways. Some have been pulled from old coin jars that hadn't been touched in decades. Others turned up in coin rolls purchased from banks for just a few dollars. The thought that your everyday pocket change could hide a rare treasure is what keeps collectors searching. So, how do you check your 1982 pennies? First, identify the date style, large or small. Then check the mint mark. Finally, if you suspect it's copper, weigh it. If it weighs 3.11 grams and matches a rare variety, you may have something special. And of course, look closely for any unusual features that might indicate an error. Now, after all this talk about composition, rarity, and condition, you're probably wondering, what's the top end for a 1982 Lincoln penny? How high can it go if you've got the right one? Well, brace yourself, because certain rare examples in top condition have sold for an incredible $55,000. Yes, you heard that right, $55,000 for a single penny that most people wouldn't think twice about spending. That's the magic of coin collecting: history, rarity, and beauty all wrapped up in something you could hold between your fingers. So, check your change, dig into those coin jars, and take a closer look at your pennies. Because the next time you pick up a coin off the ground, it might just be the one that changes everything. Today, we're diving deep into a penny that has been hiding in plain sight for decades, a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times but never thought twice about: the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1973. At first glance, it's just a simple copper coin, nothing flashy, nothing rare, just a part of everyday change from the 1970s. But if you take a closer look, you'll realize that certain versions of this coin are so scarce and so valuable that they've become legendary among collectors. And if you're lucky enough to have one in your possession, you might be holding a small piece of metal worth a small fortune. The 1973 penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features Lincoln's iconic profile, with the words, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the date to the right. The reverse, at the time, still carried the famous Lincoln Memorial design by Frank Gasparo, introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. In 1973, the U.S. Mint struck pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, Denver coins are marked with a small d below the date, and San Francisco coins carry an S mint mark, often in proof form. Proof coins, made with specially prepared dies and polished planchets, have a mirror-like finish and sharp details, making them especially desirable to collectors. Now, why would a 1973 penny, produced in the hundreds of millions, be valuable at all? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and minting errors. You see, while most 1973 pennies are worth only face value, a small number of them have special characteristics that set them apart. One of the most famous and sought-after varieties from 1973 is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a misalignment that causes elements of the design, such as the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust, to appear doubled. Even a slight doubling can make the coin worth far more than a standard penny, but strong doubling visible without magnification is where the real money is. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the coin was not perfectly aligned in the press when struck. The result is a design that's shifted to one side, sometimes leaving part of the blank planchet visible. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. Another factor that can dramatically increase value is condition. Coins that have been in circulation for years lose their sharpness and original luster. But uncirculated coins, those that went straight from the mint into storage, can remain in pristine condition for decades. A 1973 penny in mint state with no scratches, spots, or discoloration is already worth more than face value. Add in a rare variety or error, and now you're talking about serious money. There's also the allure of proof coins from the San Francisco Mint. While these were sold directly to collectors, a few have become extremely valuable due to their flawless surfaces and striking details. Some even have unique toning, natural color changes in the metal over time, that makes them one-of-a-kind treasures. Collectors have found rare and valuable 1973 pennies in all kinds of unexpected places. Some were pulled from coin rolls bought at banks for just a few dollars. Others were discovered in inherited coin jars that hadn't been opened for decades. The thrill of spotting that small date doubling or rare mint mark variety keeps collectors searching every chance they get. If you want to check your own 1973 pennies, here's what to look for: doubling on the obverse, especially in the date and lettering. Off-center strikes or other visible minting errors, strong, sharp details with no signs of wear, indicating mint state condition, proof coins with an S mint mark and flawless mirror-like fields. Now comes the part you've been waiting for. While most 1973 Lincoln pennies will never be worth more than a few cents, a rare, top-condition example with the right features can sell for a staggering $58,000. Yes, you heard that right. $58,000 for a single penny from 1973. It's the kind of find that turns an ordinary day into an unforgettable one and reminds us why coin collecting is so exciting. Every time you pick up a coin, you're holding history, and maybe, just maybe, a hidden fortune. So, grab your magnifying glass, dig through those jars of change, and take a fresh look at your pennies. The treasure you're looking for might be hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this journey into the 1973 Lincoln penny, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into the world of rare coins worth big money. Until next time, happy collecting.